Hey, this is Gowe, and this is behind the scenes footage of the Aurora music video.
I said I promise never to embark with nothing but my feelings while I'm sitting on this carpet.
The message behind Aurora was I wanted to write a song that was expressive of kind of my childhood, and at the same time very clear on this idea of constraint. I always felt like as a hip-hop artist, I always felt like, because I came from a background of jazz hop, and I remember when I first started experimenting with different styles of music, people were like, man, like this isn't hip-hop, or this isn't what I'm used to hearing. But my whole thing as an artist is I want to be expressive, and I want to experiment with different sounds, and the last thing I ever want to do is be confined into one specific type of sound. So when I wrote Aurora, my mindset was this song was kind of geared towards the people, or just critics in general, that tries to limit artists and saying that they have to sound a certain way. It was just kind of my way of responding to that in a fun, creative way. So if you break everything down, that's the gist of Aurora. I went with the retro video game theme because the song contains a lot of my childhood. You know, it explains a lot about kind of how I got into music, my thoughts of music, and I was thinking about it. You know, we've done videos in the past, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit more fun, something that was had more personality to it in terms of what I liked as an artist. So growing up, I played a lot of Nintendo, regular Nintendo. Super Nintendo came later, but I grew up. Okay, the regular Nintendo came out before I was born, but not too much earlier, you know. So I got in, and I remember getting my Nintendo for Christmas one year, and that was just a big part of my childhood. I played a lot of Double Dragon 2, played a lot of regular Batman NES, I played a lot of Bubble Bobble, and all these games make up kind of, you know, my childhood. And I really wanted to have a song, especially if it was talking about how I felt about things personally. I wanted to go even further back to when I was a kid and to incorporate that somehow into the present, you know, because I don't know how many people still play retro video games, but you know, that's why. Oh, that's a really good question. So the characters, there's the main character, there's villains, and then there's the girl, and they all represent different things in the actual song. We wanted to take what was conceptualized in the song and make it visual. So as I mentioned earlier, the song takes a stab at mediocrity and conformity and being a part of the norm, right? In terms of not thinking for yourself. We want to take that and translate it to video game form. So when you take a look at the villains or even the big boss, they have masks. Every single one of them do. And that is our way of representing all these villains are conforming. They're just a product of the system. So it represents mediocrity. The main hero doesn't have a mask. He represents originality and going against the system in a world that is very confined. Even the big boss, his name is System. That represents the master system of what's being pushed to the public. The girl, her name is Freedom in the music video, and she represents that breath of fresh air for the hero as well. They work side and side, meaning that he's not the only one, that there's others that are just like him, you know, that are just kind of stuck in the system that needs to be brought out. So that's, visually speaking, that's what all the characters represent. Yes, it is true. Yeah, going back to what I was just mentioning, video games was a big part of my childhood. I also watched a lot of wrestling, you know, professional wrestling when I was a kid. I think I liked it because it was just very theatrical, and everyone knows it's entertainment. Everyone knows that it's predetermined, but it doesn't take away from the drama and the athleticism and the, you know, professional wrestlers don't have any off days, so they're just going 365 days of the year, spend a lot of time away from their families. And I wanted to incorporate that somehow into my music. I'm a huge wrestling fan, but I didn't know how that would look, so I was like, okay, let me sprinkle a little bit of wrestling in here, just because, you know, again, it's part of my childhood, and I wanted to be consistent with that. So yes, it is true. Yeah, we originally had a different idea. We were going to do this really elaborate scene where it starts off inside of a meeting office, and I'm sitting at a round table, and there's all these executives sitting there, and they're waiting for me to come in as an artist. So I come in, I sit down, and they have this whole chart of what's been successful, what's been selling recently. So a lot of like, oh, party music, man, this party music's been off the chart, you gotta make more of this. Or like dance music's off the chart, you gotta make more of this. Man, we're gonna need you to change your style a little bit. You're gonna have to talk more about this. And afterwards, the main character is sitting there and he's just kind of getting really impatient and he just leaves. So he leaves and then he goes somewhere and then it ends up him being in an arcade, very Tron-esque type of a style. And then he goes in and he puts a quarter in and he literally gets sucked into the video game. Yeah, there was a concept where I was gonna be flying through space. Like, it was just gonna be a green screen with a bunch of auroras in the background. There's a certain charm to it that we wanted to go for with a green screen, but we decided video games was 1,000 times better, so we did that.
We taking off, we driving it all night. We'll be flying away. We taking off, we driving it all